Hello, it's Russell Sturgis again. Welcome to the fourth in our instalments in the series on awareness. I'd like to tell you a little bit about where I am. I'm at an area called Double Bay, not in Sydney, but on the Sunshine Coast, not far from where I live, just a couple of hundred metres from where I live, and it's a beautiful little canaled area, and you can see in the background I've got somebody kayaking, and there's a lot of boating activity, particularly with kayaks on this part of the stretch of water through here. It's right on dusk, it's afternoon, and it's winter, although it's not too cold today, so it's lovely. We've been talking about awareness, and I've been using a whole lot of statements about what awareness isn't in order to be more clear about what awareness is. And this week I'm talking about the whole notion that awareness is not guilt about things in the past, and so we look at it's not about resentment, it's not about retaliation, it's not about shame, it's not about grief, it's not about loss. It's this whole idea that in awareness any of those states of consciousness don't exist. The minute that you go into those places of judgment, those places of resentment, when you're feeling the shame, the guilt and the grief and those things like that, you're immediately out of this moment. You've gone into the past and you're dealing with things that have happened in the past. Now, in order to be able to move into the place of awareness, it requires us to be able to forgive the past, and I really like the way that A Course in Miracles approaches the concept of forgiveness, as it uses the whole idea that forgiveness is selective remembering. And by that, what they mean is that it's about taking what's happened and choosing to see it differently, choosing to be able to give it a different context. And of course, and I may have shared this in the past, but it's worth repeating, Neil Donald Walsh in Conversations with God talks about this whole idea that when we've experienced something in our past, whether it be immediate or distant past, there's this opportunity to be able to reframe it or give it a new context. And in what he talks about, he sort of suggests that we have this ability to be able to get a greater sense of who we are, having experienced what we're not. So in other words, when we have those feelings of guilt or grief, or when we have those feelings of shame and those things that come up, what we have is an opportunity to be able to look at what's happened, and with those feelings experience a sense of remorse, and with that sense of remorse have a greater capacity to be able to go, well, that's not who I am. And so all of a sudden, the experience that we've had has given us an opportunity to be more clear about who we are. We've been able to define who we are more clearly by becoming clear about those behaviours don't represent who we are. And so in fact, in that moment, there's a gift in what's happened. More to the point, besides the fact that there's a gift, there's also the opportunity for healing through gratitude. And in fact, one of the things that I'm really adamant about is that gratitude is the evidence that forgiveness and healing have taken place. So what we have is this whole notion that in order for us to be able to live in a place of awareness, in that place forgiveness becomes a primary function to the things that we do in terms of how we encounter our own experiences and the experiences of other people. The other thing that I want to talk about as it relates to awareness being more about this present moment and letting go of the past, letting go of those things, is the whole idea that when we're in awareness, we automatically qualify for divine flow. Now, divine flow is an interesting idea. It's this whole idea that the universe wants to bless us. It's the natural state of the universe or the divine, in that what it wants to do is to give us the best for our experience, for our well-being. And it works on the whole idea that we're blocking that. And primarily we block it through our story, through our judgments, through the shame, the guilt, the fear, all of those things that take us out of this moment, that either, as this week talks about going into the past, or as we talked about in our last one, about going into the future. And in fact, our future, when we're going into that place, is only informed by our past. So we let go of the past and the future by coming into this place of the now. But more than that, when we come into the place of being present in this moment, present to this moment, then we open up to divine flow. And it's like things fall into place, things happen. And I even go so far as to suggest that, and I think we talked about this at another time, is that we come into this parallel reality. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a place where there isn't the pain and the suffering that we were experiencing before, that relationships are more joyful, that we're more fulfilled in our work, that we have a greater sense of clarity around our purpose. So therefore, when we're clear about our purpose, we're clear about how we're moving forward. We're clear about what it is that we're going to be doing each day, because we're clear about the purpose that we have in each moment. The other thing that comes is that we're free. We're free from the stories, we're free from the limitations that constantly see us shooting ourselves in the foot, that are holding us back and have us living small in the world. Okay, so in this week's principle of awareness, this whole idea that when we come into the now, it's impossible for us to be in the past. You can't be in both places. And so by coming into the now, you're no longer caught up in the shame. You're no longer caught up in the guilt and the grief. So these things become the evidence that you're in awareness, is that you're not experiencing those feelings. And of course, most of us have had those experiences and those feelings. And in the blog that I've written about today, I talk about those things in the blog. I give a couple of examples from my own personal experience where people have been caught in grief and been caught in their resentment and the things that have held them in the past. And of course, all you got to do is just listen to people, and it's amazing how many people are living their present life completely enmeshed in the stories of their past. So, an opportunity for you as you read the blog to think about how are you being held in the past, and what is it that you could maybe forgive through selective remembering to be able to move on, and through gratitude be free of, so that you could fully express this moment. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll be back again in a couple of weeks with the final installment in this series. I hope you're enjoying it. Once again, if you want to read more about it, go to the blog on eapmentor.com. If you want to understand more about the Enhancers Awareness Program on Facebook, please go to the Enhancers Awareness Program, and you'll be able to see some inspirational stuff. We've got some great videos and quotes and things there that are really quite supportive to being able to live a life in awareness and live a life free of suffering. Anyway, speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.